Hey there, welcome to Stitches and Picks. A little bit of a different episode here, solo show with Dave. So, any of you who prefer Kristen, feel free to wait until next week. Uh, I figured I would jump on quick and talk about the BGO launch mishap that's been referenced a number of times in previous episodes. Um, this way, figured I would share the story, walk through what does a typical launch package look like, if you are looking to launch your own website, e-commerce store, whatever it is. Um, and then what not to do, which is exactly what I did. So, um, I guess we'll start from the beginning with Beginning Guitar Online. It started back in 2014, 2015, I think, somewhere in there. I was working for a marketing agency in Minneapolis at the time, and I was at home kind of looking around, renewing some of the domains that I purchased, for myself in GoDaddy at the time I was using at the time. Um, and just went, you know what? I'm gonna look at my guitar sites. Um, because I had previously been a guitar teacher, a full-time guitar teacher, and I had always had students come in who had started online. They would always have massive gaps in their playing, or um, there would be just some ingrained bad habits because naturally with the stuff that you find online for free, a lot of it is, how to play this super flashy stuff or how to play a particular song that you want to learn and that you really enjoy. And that's all great stuff, but as a teacher and as somebody who's trying to set them up for success, down the road to be able to accomplish their goals, you'd be like, okay, online is missing something, right? Um, so I was thinking back on my teaching experiences and um, just kind of putzing around with the domain registration stuff, which I'm sure if anybody's looked at potentially launching something online, you've played around with those tools. And I just, as an SEO, the old school way of doing things would you buy the domain with all the keywords in it. And that isn't so much a thing anymore, but uh, it's one method of getting a domain. So I just typed in beginning guitar online, and lo and behold, it was available. And whoa, no way! I don't even know if I'm gonna do anything with this domain, but I'm gonna buy it because it's only like $20 a year, to hold on to a domain. So, um, yeah, I went ahead and bought it, and then I started thinking, okay, what could I do with this? Um, so after I bought the domain, I started thinking to myself, all right, what could I do with this domain? Because the way that I started on guitar, there was the guitar magazines that you could get at the library or subscribe to. Um, there were the websites, but they weren't really good because at the time the video or the imagery just it took forever to load or was very pixelated, so it was hard to read. Um, it was just a bad user experience. So I figured I would start looking around. I did the competitive research, which I'd highly recommend anybody, does with any of their ideas, just to find out what's already been done, what's working for people, what's not. And as I researched what was out there, it became clear to me that there was the traditional magazines that really were focused on just getting subscriptions and selling advertising. And at the time, really focused on the print versions of their products. Then you had other lesson sites like TrueFire or JamPlay, where they were already they already had a lot of great content. It was really professionally shot. They even have some lessons with some top touring acts that would really make you want to buy the lessons, but the pricing to get access to those lessons is pretty high, so it's like $40 a month. And I was just thinking to myself, okay, if I'm a beginner guitar player, I don't know enough to evaluate whether or not the lessons behind the sign in are worth $40 a month, because that seems pretty steep. Now, that seems pretty steep for an online subscription, but really honestly, if you're going to go to a guitar teacher in any of the guitar stores, you can expect to pay $1 a minute for your lesson. So 30-minute lessons, $30. Because the guitar teacher doesn't pocket all of that. A lot of that goes to, the guitar teacher renting space from whatever music store they're at. So they're getting a percentage of whatever it is you end up paying, in store. So, $1 a minute versus, a lesson a month. But again, with anything online, I mean, you've experienced this with apps too. You pay for it and then you kind of forget it because it just sits there, right? So you had the subscription pieces, the gated content, you had the magazines, and then the third one that you had were just random YouTubers it was really hard to tell whether or not you should listen to any of these people. Right? Do they have credibility? Are they just somebody who is just a week ahead of me, in terms of playing, but they're recording themselves and, putting the lessons online? It's really hard to evaluate, if you're a beginner, where the value is and what should I do. Not to mention different learning styles, right? One of the main reasons I wanted to start the guitar side online was a recognition that there were different learning styles for different players, as well as there was a frustration with being a teacher where summer months or towards the end of the year with high school, junior high calendar, all of a sudden the kids would get really busy, so they would start missing a lot of lessons. And if those aren't prioritized, how are you supposed to have any progress with that? So July 4th, forget that week. Nobody's going to be going on. August, almost everybody's out on vacation, so forget it. Your kid's not going to learn much. Then you have all the other holidays, plus school starting, plus homework, plus yada yada yada, right? So it would have been really nice to be able to say, all right, hey, you know what, if you're going to miss this week, you're going to go up to your cabin, you're going to go on a trip, go to YouTube, go to my website, learn this particular lesson, and then come back to me, right? That way you're not missing a week. You're still making progress on the instrument. And then, next week when you come in, you can get real-time feedback from me as the teacher. And then additionally, I had a student, and I think I mentioned this in one of the previous episodes. I had a student who, I'd put the sheets down in front and I realized he wasn't looking at any of them. And, I asked him, I was like, are you using the sheets? Like, why? I see that you're watching me play a lot more. And, he was kind enough to tell me that he was dyslexic, so it was really hard for him to look at the stuff on the page. And at the time I'm like, man, you should have told me like right away. I would have adapted. I would have let you record stuff on your phone like as I play. And so that's what we ended up doing. He would record my fingers as I played through the examples. And again, it would be really nice to just have record it once and then be able to shoot it off to the student, like as things are coming. If he misses a week, and here, try this video, go ahead and do it, and let's keep the progress going. So those were the main reasons for wanting to start it and going. But again, I found the domain back in like 2014, 2015. Between 2015 and 2020, I was researching 2015, 2019. We'll go 2019. I was researching the environment, playing around with the idea, trying to figure out, okay, how do you actually record this stuff? What would the content process look like? All those kind of pre-launch ideas. And then the pandemic hit. And I think, like most people, there was kind of a wake up call of, okay, you know what? I gotta do something with the ideas that I feel compelled to do instead of just letting them sit and collect dust. So I called up my friend Chris, who's an amazing guitar teacher. He was actually my guitar teacher for like 2 weeks when I was 16, I think. Um, and Yeah, he's an amazing classical fingerstyle guitar player, and I took 2 weeks with him and realized that that's just not a style that I wanted to specialize in. But we ended up hanging out and becoming good friends, and years later, when the pandemic hit, I called him and said, I've been meaning to talk to you about this idea I've had. Why don't we do it? Let's just do it. And luckily, he said yes, and so we took the 2020 pandemic year to figure out, okay, how are we going to do it, what are we going to launch with, what do we want to record, and then we launched in 2021, and it's been a fun ride since then. The lesson from the launch, though, is you have your typical launch strategy, right? So what is a typical launch strategy? Well, if you're going to launch a new product, a new platform, like a website, like a YouTube channel, anything like that, right? You're going to have the main content itself. So in our case, the guitar videos. You're going to have your website where people can check you out, get in touch with you, any of that kind of stuff. And then you have all your promotional assets, social media things, advertising, PR, press releases, if that's a route you choose to do. I chose not to do it with BGO. And in terms of your main content, you don't just want the one video and then say, okay, I'm going to do one video and then do one video a week, and then all of a sudden find yourself in this, crazy kind of rat race to keep up the content. Because if you're like me and you have the day job, you have a family, you have everything else, that's a lot of work to get one video going and launch it every week, get all the social media posts going, get the transcription up on the blog, any of that, depending on what your strategy is. It's a lot of work for each episode. So with the launch package, I had set it up where I would have 5 videos set and ready to go. I would do like maybe 3 on launch day, or maybe spread 3 out across the first week as sort of a, yay, we launched, check it out. And so there would be some instant value as soon as people saw the YouTube channel, the website, whatever else. And then after those 3 videos, each week I would have a video slotted for the coming weeks to give me some time to get the transcripts done for each of the videos, each of the video shooting and editing, so that I could be ahead of the game and I wouldn't have to be stressed out about, oh man, it's Tuesday and I don't have a video for Thursday, because Thursday is our launch day for new episodes at the time of this recording. It might change, experiment, play around. So instead of following the strategy like I know I should have, I decided to just launch with everything I had. And, it was one of those things where like my finger was hovering over the mouse button and I knew I shouldn't hit it, but I did anyway. And that is the mistake. If you have your strategy, stick with it. Don't make any last minute changes to it. There is a reason you put the planning, ahead of time into it. Even if you're doing a soft launch, there is planning there. There's, there is a reason you took the time to get everything done. So with this mistake, what are the knock-on effects? Well, everything I said that I was trying to prevent by having content there, ahead of time happened. So I launched with everything and it felt great because now I have this new thing. It's out there. This is fantastic. We've got all these episodes. People are responding to them. Yay! Except you forget about the mental energy you have to expend in the preparation, in launching, not to mention the emotional energy and excitement for, you know what, I did the thing. I said I was going to do it. It's launching. What's the reception going to be? And then it launches. And it's nice to have that extra content there, not just so you can relax a little bit and not feel pressured to release all this new content, but also to take a breath after launching, right? Just to be excited that you did something and that you're one of the few people that had the idea, you went through the process, and you actually launched it, right? Um, and to be honest, it took me 6 months of content creation to dig myself out of that feeling of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I have to shoot something and get it released and edit and bounce and whatever else, right? Because some of the things that Chris and I have talked about in previous episodes about how, a lot of the things that you don't think about when you're launching a new channel or new whatever, file storage, the amount of time it takes for videos to bounce or render when you're editing and you're putting all the branding and you're putting on and you're changing, color balance and audio levels and all these things. All of that takes time, and you forget about that. So, getting it to a point where your video is done and rendered and can bounce while you then go sleep and then come back to be able to upload it, which then also, if you're dealing with, 4K videos, like with stitches and pics, um, you're dealing with 4K videos for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour. I mean, that takes most of the day to upload and process the standard definition version, process the high definition version, process the 4K version, and then be able to have the link to share and, put into other places. So the goals that we had when we launched were to hit an average of 100 people a month, and that's through the videos or the website or whatever else. And we had it that, what seems as low, because we knew that we weren't going to be doing any advertising, right? We're going to bootstrap this thing, and we're going to just see what happens with the reception. Because, as I said, when I researched the environment of being able to look at subscriptions versus YouTubers versus magazines, the one thing all of them had in common was that they weren't familiar with search engine marketing. That was one way where I could take all of the best practices that they're doing, add my expertise of SEO on there and content development from that, and then kind of, wedge myself in between. And I'm happy to report, 9 months later, we had already surpassed the amount of people we wanted to reach in that first year, with totally organic. And it's continued to go up. Now, that 6 months of just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding to dig myself out of that content hole, to not have that extra leeway, really put a damper on, feeling good about launching the thing, feeling good about being able to get the next year of it there, because the long-term goals, we have to have a certain amount of content to be able to do other things that we want to do with the site. Yeah. So anyway, just thinking real time, all the knock-on effects and all the things. I could ramble and ramble and ramble, but I'm not going to. So I think I'll stop it here. But again, learn from my mistake with this. If you have a plan, if you take the time, do not change it in the 11th hour. Yeah, the things I hope you can take away from this are, when you come up with the idea, do some research on potential domain names, buy them if you are able to, um, or as soon as you figured out your brand name, look to see if it's out there. Um, whittle down your options with, what websites are available. Take some time to research, what other companies are out there. Some great tools are out there to do this with. You can do it with SEMrush, SimilarWeb, Moz, Ahrefs. I would use SimilarWeb, Ahrefs, SEMrush first on those. To research your audience and where they are, doing Facebook ads just to see, LinkedIn ads depending on your target audience, YouTube data would be another good one with YouTube ads. Also, a fantastic tool, SparkToro, would be another great one to go check out. All of those tools are free or have a reasonable price, where if you buy it for a month, you do the research you need, and then be done with it. Research the environment to figure out your best plan of attack, your unique spin on the idea, because just because there are a lot of competitors, just because there are a lot of people out there doing it, doesn't mean you shouldn't lend your voice to it if you have something to say about those topics and something, some value you can add to those conversations. Also, come up with your launch package, have the content available, have extra content available. If you really wanted to be careful with this and cautious with your launch, have your initial launch content with ads and social assets and the website and your videos, depending on whatever your website or online strategy is, what your business is. Have your launch content there, have the next weeks or months, try to go for 4 weeks or 6 weeks worth of content available to just launch automatically, where you have everything set up and all the posts scheduled, all that, so that you have a little bit of a buffer, right? And then, again, don't change it when you get to the 11th hour before you launch your actual package. Create the strategy, stick to it, and have an awesome time knowing that you're one of the few percentage of people that came up with the idea, did the research, and launched it. It is an exciting thing to do. It's rewarding personally, emotionally, mentally, to get that done. And make sure you take some time to acknowledge that, right? Don't just go to the next thing. There's plenty of time for that. Take some time, acknowledge the accomplishment, and go forward. So hope you've enjoyed this, a little bit of a different format. Let us know if you've liked this, like, subscribe, comment below. If you're Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to the podcast, give us a review, write in the comments, let us know. If you'd like more solo shows, let us know hit us up on social, let us know. We're happy to do that. And with that, we will see you next week with the next episode of Stitches and Picks, and hope you're well. Take care.